So we have code here that will move our zombie away from the cop in the X direction if they're too close. And we want to make something similar for the Y direction. So we just bear in mind that monster 0 is the X coordinates of each monster. And so we're going to say if monster 1, which is the Y coordinate, if the Y coordinate is less than the cop's Y coordinate, then we want to move further up the screen. So we are going to say that monster 1 should be equal to monster 1 plus, actually not plus, we're going to minus, because the top of the screen is where the 0 coordinate is. So we want to subtract to get higher up the screen. So minus random dot randint between 0 and 5. So it'll move a chunk of pixels up the way. And we're going to say else. So if it's not above the cop, then we're going to assume that it's below. It could be on the same parallel, but this will be close enough. So monster 1 will be monster 1 and then plus a random amount. So that will move it further down the screen. It's already below. We're going to move it further below because it's too close. Okay. So this here is our chunk of evasion code, but it only runs if too close tells us that we are less than 2 sprites away from where things are. And we can then just move up this else code here just for neatness. So if it's too close, run away. If it's not too close, do your normal random jiggling about in a zombie drunken walk type way. Okay, let's go back and have a look at our code here. We seem to have everything that we need. Notice we still have code that will keep the zombies on screen here. So that will run after we've tried to update things. And we also have our score is based on how quickly the cop is bumping into the zombie. So I think it's definitely worth trying our code at this stage. Click on run, and we may have to pick up some typing errors that have occurred, but otherwise it should all be good. So at the moment, all we have done is to change the game logic based on whether we think 2 sprites are too close to each other. And you can see what happened there. All the zombies ran away from the cop in the middle, but now they're just jiggling about. If I click in here and then move the cop towards them, we should see it chasing those zombies into the corner. And then down here, chasing them to the other corner. So most zombies don't care about the cop, but when he gets too close, they then try to run away, which is great. However, it would be nice if there was some visual representation of what was going on here. So the remainder of this tutorial is about getting us to show proximity. So we're going to start by drawing an ellipse at the point where we have drawn the cop. So you can see here I have screen blit cop in the drawing section of my code. So just after that, I'm going to say pygame.draw.ellipse. Now, pygame draw wants to take a surface to draw on, which should be the screen. And then it wants to have a color to use to draw on it. So I think I've got red established. And then it wants us to have an X, Y, and a height and width. So where do we want to draw it at? Well, let's draw it at the X and Y of the cop. So just the same as we used here. And then the height and the width, we are going to use the ping radius. And you can see here that there was a rectangle. Now a rectangle takes 4 arguments, an x, a y, a height and a width. So I'm going to give it ping radius twice. And if I try that, I can see it's drawing a full circle on top of the cop. So that's not really what we want. In actual fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to detection radius, which will be at the full extent. Okay, but the other thing I'm going to put in here, after my square brackets with the 4 coordinates in it, I'm going to put a thickness for the radius as well. I'm just going to maybe use 3 pixels, see what that looks like. Okay, so we can see that we do have a circle, but the circle is starting at the same coordinates as the cop, which means in the top corner here. So that's not quite what we want. What we actually want is, instead of the x and y coordinates, we want to move it up and back by half of this detection radius. So if I say x minus detection radius over 2, and then y minus detection radius over 2, and let's see what that looks like. Okay, and oh, I seem to have gone minus there, so that was just a typing error. So y minus, let me try and run that again. Alright, so it's kind of round the cop now, but it's not actually centered on the cop. And the reason for that is because it always draws it from the top corner. So we're going to have to also add on to these half of the sprite's width. So it'll be plus size over 2 and plus size over 2. And that now should be drawing perfectly around the cop. If I move them around, and you'll see that that is a big bubble around about that sprite. Okay, so that's fine. We've got some sort of representation of the cop. But what we're going to do is we're going to change the radius of that circle so that it looks as if it's pinging out from the center. So at the end of our game logic, after we've checked for collisions, we're then going to look for ping radius is going to add on the growth, and if it gets too big, we're going to snap it back to its normal size again. So you can see here that I've gone to the end of my game logic, just above the screen updates part. I want this to happen all of the time, so I'm just going to tab it into the while loop, and I'm going to say ping radius equals ping radius plus ping growth. So that should make it grow. It's not happy with growth. My unindent doesn't match. Okay. Yeah, I need an extra space. That's fine now. Alright, now, so if the ping radius gets too big, so if ping radius goes bigger than max radius, then I'm simply going to set it back to the minimum. So I'm going to set it back to min radius. Just put a little gap in there just to separate out that bit of code here. So now my ping should be changing during the running of the game, and it should follow the cop around and it doesn't seem to be doing that. And the reason for that is because I forgot that I was using detection radius here rather than ping radius. So it's about the size here using ping radius and you can see, of course, now it's growing from the wrong place. And the reason for that, again, is because I should be using the ping radius for all of my calculations. And I've lost where that was. Okay. And so now we have a cop who moves around. He's got a little bit of a ping around him. If you don't like the speed of that, you could give it a bit more growth. If it's too fast, a bit less growth. So I'm going to nip up to the top here. I'm going to say that the ping growth is going to be 5. And then I should have a much faster ping. Yeah, and we can see there that it is indeed. And again, we can see that as I get close to the zombies, they're running away from me. But I should be able to put up a bit of speed and still collide with them and get some points. And that is our proximity sensor and ping radius coded.